Kurt finished college and went underrated in the 1994 NFL Draft. He joined the Green Bay Packers training camp after the draft, but was eventually removed from the team. For a period, Warner stocked shelves for a living in Iowa as he didn't get any NFL teams willing to take a chance on him. Eventually, he opted to join the Arena Football League, AFL, where he joined the Iowa Barnstormers and was very good there, throwing for over 10,000 yards and 183 touchdowns. Despite all this, Warner didn't give up his dream of playing in the NFL and would eventually sign for the St. Louis Rams just before the beginning of the 1998 season and was their third-string quarterback behind Tony Banks and Steve Bono. St. Louis Rams had been a successful team in the past, but in the 90s had fallen off a cliff, producing many losing seasons. The Rams allowed Bono to leave in free agency and signed quarterback Trent Green in free agency to be the starting quarterback, but the worst was still to come for the Rams. On August 28, 1999, Trent Green injured his ACL and was going to be out for the whole season in a preseason game against the San Diego Chargers. This all but brought the Rams' season to a conclusion. The Rams signed Green to help improve them and maybe lead them to the playoffs, but this injury was getting in their way at the worst possible time. At this point, many fans had already lost all hope and expectations for the season. And why not? They were going to be led throughout the season by an inexperienced QB who had never proven himself in the NFL. Fast forward to January 30th, 2000, and the Rams had just won the Super Bowl with backup QB Warner. It was unbelievable. This was the kind of stuff you dared to dream about, the kind of story that happens in movies, but it unfolded before our very eyes. The Rams, who in recent history posted consecutive losing records every season, had just won the Super Bowl. This is one of the greatest stories in the history of the sport. But how did a team on the decline win a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback? And what was Warner's role in this? What other achievements did Warner have in his NFL career? Let's find out. To understand Warner's story, we have to go back to the beginning. Curtis Eugene Warner was born in Burlington, Iowa, and attended Regis High School in Cedar Rapids, where he was a member of the football team. He was admitted to the University of Northern Iowa, graduating in 1993. While in the university, he was initially the third-choice quarterback, but in his senior year, he became a starter. In the 1994 NFL Draft, he went undrafted and ended up as a free agent. He was given a chance to try out for the Green Bay Packers and join their training camp in 1994. However, with the quality of quarterbacks they had, he was released by the Packers before the start of the regular season. With the Packers, Warner was competing for the quarterback position with the likes of Brett Favre, Mark Brunell, and Ty Detmer. After leaving the Packers, Kurt had to find work somewhere to make a living for himself and his wife Brenda, who had 2 kids from her previous marriage. He was going through a tough patch. With no NFL team interested in him, he signed with the Iowa Barnstormers, who were playing in the Arena Football League, AFL, in 1995. He led the Barnstormers to 2 Arena Bowl berths in 1996 and 1997, and he was named first-team All-Arena in both years. He would later be inducted into the Arena Football Hall of Fame in 2011, showing just how good he was in the AFL despite playing just 2 seasons. Prior to the start of the NFL season in 1997, Warner requested a tryout with the Chicago Bears and got his chance to impress, but he had an injury to his throwing arm and wasn't able to attend. He would eventually get his chance in the NFL, signing a contract with the St. Louis Rams in 1998, but the Rams allocated him to NFL Europe, where he played for the Amsterdam Admirals. Warner led the league in passing yards and touchdowns. In the 1999 NFL expansion draft, Warner was left as one of the 5 unprotected players by the Rams, but went unselected by the Cleveland Browns. With his amazing performance in Europe, Warner made the 53-man roster with the Rams and eventually earned his spot as the team's second-string quarterback. However, on August 28, 1999, during a preseason game against the San Diego Chargers, starting quarterback Trent Green sustained an injury to his ACL and was ruled out for the season. Trent had been signed by the Rams in the offseason with the hopes of ending a streak of losing seasons and to give the Rams a chance of making the playoffs for the first time in a decade. Without Trent, the Rams were in a lot of trouble, or so it seemed at the time. The Rams, however, chose to stick with backup Kurt Warner instead of seeking a replacement, and it eventually paid off. Warner threw 3 touchdown passes in each of his first 3 starts and was impressive throughout the season, And guess what? The Bucks had just finished the season with a 13-3 record, and Kurt Warner was named league MVP. Surprising, isn't it? But not as surprising as what's about to come. On January 30th, 2000, the Rams defeated the Tennessee Titans 23-16 to claim their first Super Bowl title, a season in which they played with backup QB Warner. Warner was named Super Bowl MVP, and he had put together one of the best seasons by a quarterback in NFL history, throwing for 4,353 yards with a completion rate of 65.1% and 41 touchdown passes. The following season, he signed a 7-year contract worth $47 million with the Rams. However, he would only spend 2 more seasons with the Rams and was plagued with injuries. Furthermore, he led the Rams to the Super Bowl once more in 2001 after they posted a 14-2 record in the regular season, and Warner was named regular season MVP. Ultimately, they lost to Belichick's Patriots 20-17, courtesy of a game-winning field goal scored by Patriots kicker Adam Vinatieri. After a poor start to the season in 2003, Warner was benched for rising star Mark Bulger, and at this point, he realized his career with the Rams was over. He left the Rams to join the New York Giants at the end of the season. Warner began his career with the Giants in good form, propelling them to a 4-1 start at the beginning of the 2004 season. However, he was again benched for another young quarterback. Eli Manning, who was the Giants' top pick, was given the QB role over Warner. Warner left the Giants at the end of the season to join the Arizona Cardinals. In his first year with the Cardinals, Warner struggled at the start of the season and was yet again benched for a younger quarterback. Matt Leinart, the quarterback picked by the Cardinals in the 2006 draft, was given the starting QB position for the rest of the season. In 2007, Leinart sustained an injury 5 games into the season, and Warner was given the starting job for the remainder of the season. Warner led them to an 8-8 record and threw 11 touchdowns in the final 11 games. The Warner-led Cardinals entered the 2008 season with high aspirations after a good finish the previous season, and they got off to an impressive 7-3 start and were on top of the NFC West division. However, their performances fell off in the second half of the season, losing 4 of their final 6 games, albeit they still clinched the NFC West with a victory over the Rams. Warner didn't claim the regular season MVP, but he led the Cardinals to the NFC Championship game where they defeated NFC favorites Philadelphia Eagles in a brilliant postseason performance. This took Warner and the Cardinals to the Super Bowl, making Warner one of the few players to have made Super Bowl starts with 2 teams. However, the Cardinals lost the Super Bowl to 5-time champions Pittsburgh Steelers, despite a good performance by Warner, especially when he completed a 64-yard touchdown pass to Larry Fitzgerald to give them a 23-20 lead after being 13 points down at the beginning of the fourth quarter. He played well in the 2009 season after signing a $23 million 2-year deal, but ultimately, the Cardinals lost to the New Orleans Saints 45-14 in the NFC divisional round. Warner decided to retire in 2010 and announced his retirement in January. Kurt Warner was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on August 5, 2017. Kurt Warner's career is the greatest rags-to-riches story in the history of the NFL. He has ridden the NFL's roller coaster over and over again. He's been benched 3 times in his career for younger quarterbacks. He has defied the odds many times over and should be considered a true NFL great. It takes a lot of patience and persistence to be benched for younger players. It takes a lot of courage to step up as the backup and perform brilliantly. Kurt Warner was not only a great player, but also a warrior who fought his way to the very top of NFL greats. Do you think Warner was always good and underrated, or he evolved into what he became? What do you think brought the turnaround in Warner's career? Do you think Kurt Warner can be considered a true NFL great?